just a few races still outstanding. The headline, of course, tonight is still that President Obama has won re-election, and handily in the Electoral College. But look at the popular vote right now. This is with 87% of the vote counted. That's a significant, over 1 million votes advantage for President Obama in the popular vote. A lot of the projections, even among people who said that he would win in the Electoral College, suggested that Mitt Romney would be winning in the popular vote, at least at this point with 87% in. That does not appear to be the case. President Obama right now, with still 2 states yet to be called, with both Florida and Nevada yet to be called, is approaching 300 electoral votes, which is, it was hard to see that coming even by the people who said we should see this coming. All right, I want to bring something else into the conversation now, which is a reaction to tonight's election results from the top Republican in the United States Senate. We've been talking about Mitch McConnell all night tonight in terms of how important he is to figuring out whether or not anything's going to be any different in the second term than it was in the first. Mitch McConnell, famous not just for his leadership role, but for having very proudly and frequently said that he thought the job of Senate Republicans should be to make President Obama a one-term president. Here's how he has reacted tonight to tonight's results. Look at this. This is amazing. The American people did 2 things. They gave President Obama a second chance to fix the problems that even he admits he failed to solve during his first 4 years in office, and they preserved Republican control of the House of Representatives. The voters have not endorsed the failures or excesses of the president's first term. They have simply given him more time to finish the job they asked him to do, together with a Congress that restored balance to Washington after 2 years of one-party control. Now it's time for the president to propose solutions that actually have a chance of passing the Republican-controlled House of Representatives and a closely divided Senate, step up to the plate on the challenges of the moment, and deliver in a way that he did not in his first 4 years in office. To the extent he wants to move to the political center, which is where the work gets done in a divided government, we'll be there to meet him halfway. That begins by proposing a way for both parties to work together in avoiding the fiscal cliff without harming a weak and fragile economy. And when that is behind us, work with us to reform the tax code and our broken entitlement system. Republicans are eager to hear the president's proposals on these and many other pressing issues going forward, and to do the work the people sent us here to do. I will just say, technically, if we're breaking it down into what the American people did tonight, it was more than 2 things. Yes, they gave President Obama a second term. And yes, Republican control in the House of Representatives was also preserved. But you know what else they did? They gave Republicans in the Senate a big defeat and sent more Democrats back to the Senate than were there before. Chris Hayes.
He didn't dwell on that, did he?
He didn't dwell on that. He skipped over that as the top Republican in the Senate. Chris Hayes, I'd like your reaction to Mitch McConnell here, and what do you think its importance is?
Well, that was a cosmically grumpy statement from Mitch McConnell, and I imagined the moment in the early part of the evening when NBC News called Indiana for Joe Donnelly. I imagined Mitch McConnell in a TV room in Kentucky somewhere throwing his tumbler of bourbon against the wall, because you have to, I mean, think about what happened in Indiana. Mitch McConnell has now seen 2 consecutive races when he probably should have been majority leader, and there are at least 5 seats that the Tea Party took out of his hands and gave to the Democrats.
Chris, hold that thought for a second. Remember what you're about to say next, because I have to interrupt you, because we have a call. In a state which we could previously not characterize, NBC News projects that in Nevada, President Obama is the winner, adding to his electoral tally, pushing him, I believe, up over 300 electoral votes at this point. This is starting to look like not just a clear night, but a almost shockingly decisive night in terms of the presidential results. We are still waiting to hear, of course, about Florida. Chris Hayes, back to you in terms of what this means for the Senate.
Well, look, I mean, there's still 3 outstanding races. There's the Heidkamp race. There's Dean Heller and Shelley Berkley in Nevada, and it'll be interesting to see if the really remarkable Obama campaign organization can basically drag Shelley Berkley over the finish line in that state. She was pulling a little bit behind, but we've seen before people exceed their projections in terms of turnout in Nevada. Harry Reid famously so the last time around. But to me, the big takeaway from tonight and watching the Senate is these are different electorates that are showing up in the midterms and in the presidential election years. And the way that we write the story is, oh, public opinion is shifting hither and yon, and they elected Barack Obama, and then there was a backlash against Barack Obama that gave us the Tea Party and gave the Republicans control of the House. And really the story here is 2 different electorates show up in presidential years and show up in off years. And the electorate that shows up in presidential years is younger and less white. right and more Democratic and more liberal. So it's not just the president's reelected. We see the Democrats looking like they're running the table or having a very good night. Also at the state level in terms of ballot initiatives, in terms of marijuana legalization, in terms of marriage equality. What is happening is that there is a different electorate, a bigger electorate, more liberal electorate that shows up in presidential elections. The big question for building a Democratic coalition, if you're Barack Obama and the leaders of the Democratic Party, is can you get those people to show up in midterm years? Because then you are looking at something that looks like a really stable, powerful, permanent governing coalition in American politics.
Chris Hayes, thank you very, very much. That's a very smart and structural point in terms of thinking about how we make our electoral decisions. We're still in the process of making some electoral decisions right now. Chuck Todd joins us now again with what is still outstanding and with the importance of what just happened in Nevada. Chuck?
Well, it is, but I want to go to this conversation again and sort of and possibly read in between the lines of Mitch McConnell's motivation. Mitch McConnell is up for re-election in 2014. Mitch McConnell is going potentially in a political vice grip because there are some on the right that would like to see Mitch McConnell challenged in a primary. A lot of conservatives have not been happy with Mitch McConnell. That's why he hired Rand Paul's political operation to try to save himself from a primary challenge on the right in 2014. But he also could be vulnerable in a general election. This is a man who's not won many general elections by large margins in Kentucky. Ben Chandler sitting out there. There's some couple of Democrats out there that could give him problems. We know how much money, I think, nationally a Democrat would be able to raise against Mitch McConnell. So I think what Mitch McConnell's statement was basically saying, please don't try to bring anything to the Senate. Don't make me do it. Hopefully you have to just deal with the House. But what I also found interesting is John Cornyn, who is basically going to be the next likely number 2 Senate Republican, head of the Republican Senate Campaign Committee. He had a much different statement about the election than Mitch McConnell. Let me read to you what he said tonight. It's clear that with our losses in the presidential race and a number of key Senate races, we have a period of reflection and recalibration ahead for the Republican Party. I mean, you can't. I mean, that is from the as Mike Murphy referred to it earlier. That is from the mathematic wing of the Republican Party, and that's it versus the maybe the stubborn or wing or denial wing of the Republican Party on some of these things.
Well, Chuck, let me just ask you, and maybe this is naive on my part, but if that's what you're getting from the guy who's likely to be the number 2 in the caucus, and Mitch McConnell, thinking about his own electoral prospects, responds to this shellacking tonight by saying, oh no, we're not going to vote with you on anything. You can meet with us when you want to talk about getting rid of Medicare. I mean, is there a case for the Republicans to maybe think about Mitch McConnell not being their guy, especially if Mitch McConnell is mostly worried about his own skin? Well,
but let's see. I mean, who's most likely to challenge him? It's probably somebody from the right. It's probably Jim DeMint. Who might do it, who, by the way, Jim DeMint added to his potential ranks if he decided to go into leadership and challenge Mitch McConnell with Ted Cruz in Texas. That is somebody that would be part of him, Rand Paul. So, that's not clear. What would a Senate leadership fight look like on that front? But this is where I think it's going to be interesting to watch the president. One of the things that, frankly, I was critical of him during the first couple of years, he didn't try to go around the Senate leadership, right? He'd meet with them and Senate leadership would stand in his way. He didn't try to go around them and find 5 or 6 Republicans on his own. I think there was an opening there the first 6 months of the first year. I'm not saying that that opening was there after the first 6 months, but I think it was there. There is a period of, as the Republicans get into this civil war, and they're going to be in a civil war, trying to decide why did they lose tonight, right? Is it because Romney wasn't conservative? We know they're going to have this fight. Will the White House, will the president be able to basically use that fight to go find a coalition of the willing inside the Republican caucus to work with what may be 54 Senate Democrats? He needs only 6 or 7. Possibly to do this. I think there's 6 or 7 Republicans out there. Bob Corker, Lamar Alexander, the Tennessee guys, a couple others. Let's see how this White House, this second-term Barack Obama White House does.
Fascinating. And I think you're right in terms of looking ahead to the Civil War. I think it's progress that we will actually it looks like we'll actually now be dealing with a Republican Party that admits that it lost tonight, when earlier tonight we couldn't even say that was going to be the development of the night. Chuck, thank you very much.
You got it, Rachel.
I appreciate it. Again, this remarkable statement from Mitch McConnell, but Chuck making the important point that McConnell is not the only Republican in the Senate who's responding tonight, and you are hearing a different tune for those who are not up for re-election next time around. Man, I can't believe we're already thinking about that. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be looking at some of the states that are some of the races that are as yet unresolved, and when we might be finding out about those. We'll be right back. This is MSNBC's continuing coverage of Election Night 2020.